All right, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently for the intro to finish up, letting more people kind of file in. And boss is already here today. Not late for work this time. Mini Tom, you're saying state of trash. Well, hey man, I'm actually pretty excited, bro. I'm pretty excited because, I mean, it seemed like we weren't getting anything at all, and so we're gonna talk about this today. We have an update on the rumors and stuff. All right, boss, here. Well, I'll give you a little. I'll give you just a little appetizer. Hold you over. Dylan, why do you hope Grubb is wrong? Why do you hope Jeff Grubb is wrong? So you, aka Mr. Hamster, says, "Let's go MBG. We are so back." Well, now that you've said that, it's going to be the worst state of play that's ever been conducted. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you. So you, I feel like, we were looking at a real possibility that that Sony wasn't going to do anything, which seemed kind of strange and peculiar and like, okay. And why does it say my there's no audio or whatever? And I was feeling pretty disappointed about that. I'm like, everybody else is doing something. Come on, Sony. It's kind of weird to call them trash when we got Ghost of Yote revealed, Astrobot revealed, and SARS. I mean, that's the thing, dude. Like, I've been saying for a while, like, I think the state of plays are pretty good. Like, they've definitely improved. If you look at the past couple state of plays, Sony, I think, has done a very good job where they're like, we're going to show you a bunch of third and second party games, and then we're going to end it with a new first party game. And that, yeah, that's true, Mini Tom. There have been some disappointing state of plays. I don't think anybody would deny that. I mean, especially earlier on when Sony was introducing state of play, I mean, they had some ones that were like, whoa, this ain't it, man, But I think in recent memory, like the state of play we got in February, I actually really loved. I got to be honest, like I thought that they showed a lot of interesting games, but then they showed off SARS, and I was like, amazing. The Borderlands state of play, yeah, that was, I don't know what was going on there, man. But the state of play we got prior to that was the Ghost of Yote state of play, which was another solid one. And then, yeah, prior to that, we got a state of play showing off Astrobot. And then they're like, yeah, this game's coming out in 3 months. So I think Sony's been doing a pretty good job. But here's what's important to understand. Jeff Grubb is not 100% sure if it's a state of play or a showcase. He says he believes they've settled on a state of play. But he does make it clear that he's not 100% sure. I did play a little bit of Doom: The Dark Ages. It's all right. It's not a bad game. Just not my cup of tea, necessarily. Only real fans pay the full $80 for Borderlands. Yeah. Well, we're going to be having a lengthy discussion today about this, and we'll probably talk about some other things as well. It'll be fair games and Horizon multiplayer at the end. Prepare for disappointment. Well, I don't know, man. I'm kind of tired of that, Like I do. No. I don't think so, boss. Come on. I'm just not in that frame of mind. You know what I mean? Is there a state of play? So let's go over the information. Give me one moment here. Jeff Grubb is the one who's saying there's a state of play or a show coming. Let me see if I can find the audio. Here we go. All right. Okay, so it's not time-stamped. So I don't know when he says it. I don't know if it says it here. The 7 to 8 minute mark. Okay, hold on. Let's see. 7 to 8 minute mark. Let's see.
Increasingly unlikely that Sony will be doing that again. There was a report, Jesse, on I guess no report, whatever. Someone commented on Reset Era, Nate Drake, who's reliable, and says he hasn't heard anything about a May event from Sony this year. I haven't either, and that's because something's happening in June. It's a June thing. They're doing something in June. Now, is that going to be a big showcase? I don't think so. I said a couple months ago, Jesse, that I heard that they were discussing going back and forth about doing a showcase or a state of play.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like they've probably settled on a state of play. I'm not like 100% about that aspect of it. It's probably a state of play though, but I have heard June. So, what are your expectations for that? I mean, beyond like, okay, they missed May. Part of that probably was them having that discussion of like, if it's a showcase, maybe we could do it in June, make it even bigger.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they kind of dragged their feet on that a little bit, maybe that's what pushed it into June. But do you think there is reason to get like big excited for a state of play from Sony in June if that's the way it goes?
All right, so yeah, this is for me this is honestly really good news because I just put out a video a couple of hours ago where I was covering the rumors from Nate the Hate and John Harker, and they were all saying that like they haven't heard anything. Now, the reason why I'm excited about Jeff Grubb saying this specifically is because I know that Jeff Grubb has not been 100% consistent with all the different things he talks about, but in regards to PlayStation shows specifically, he's never missed. That's, I think, a really important thing to understand and why I'm actually happy to hear this news. And I believe it 100% because he's the only one that, I remember it was last year, I think, he said that there was going to be a state of play, at the end of February or whatever. And everybody, we were approaching the end of February and nothing was happening. And everybody was like, he was wrong. And then Sony announced it literally, I think, the day before or like the last day of February. And he's like, I told you. So whoever he gets his information from regarding PlayStation shows, it's a good source. It's a solid source. And now they're doing it in June. And it is, I think the most important information here is that he's not sure if it's a showcase or a state of play. He's not sure. Jerry Gamer, you're saying Xbox more confident to show things, can't argue. Well, I mean, Xbox, I would assume, has an immense amount of confidence just because, I mean, at any given time, dude, Xbox probably has like an hour and a half worth of stuff to show. Honestly, they have so many studios and so many games in development at any given time. Yeah. Yeah, well, it seems like you were correct, William. It seems like you were correct, man. And I was thinking about that too. I was like, yeah, just the idea of Sony doing nothing until September sounds really just not like how could that be true? It just doesn't make any sense, as you're saying. Saying Detective Seed said that the source who they spoke to said they're preparing a big event. I see somebody in the chat yelling, please tell me why the Xbox community keeps saying the PlayStation is an Xbox now. Like, bro, come on. I mean, I don't think they're being, I would hope, I mean, it has to be a joke, right? Like, the whole, like, it's an Xbox now because everything's an Xbox, your toaster's an Xbox, like, I think that's what they're kind of leaning into. If they're being serious about it, I don't know what to say about that. Like, no, it's not. It's literally a PlayStation, but all right. Yeah, I mean, I know that there's Xbox games on. I mean, it kind of is. It's like half an Xbox, I guess. I don't know. It's a console that plays Xbox games. It's a box that plays Xbox games. Apparently, Sony has no console competition. They don't need first-party games now. I don't agree with that. I mean, I understand like the logic behind that. They don't need first party games now, but we need to keep in mind that PlayStation Studios is one of the biggest publishers in the world. I think that what we heard recently, where Sony said that they're gonna be enacting greater financial discipline across their studios. I think that makes sense. Like don't blow money and don't waste money on your studios in areas where you don't need to. I think it's a matter of just keeping things within range. With what they're trying to achieve. I think Sony understands the importance inherently of like if you have a console or even a family of devices, right? Because we know that's kind of the direction Sony's going. If you have a family of hardware devices that you want to sell, they seem to understand the inherent importance of you're going to want to have some of your own experiences that you're creating, right? I mean, they have all this IP, they have all these studios. I think a better way to phrase that would be like there's not as much pressure to get them out, and like get them out quickly, even if they're not ready. I think that there's less pressure overall. I would say that, yeah, there's less pressure overall, but I think they still see a great importance there. I think they've been doing a good job. Like I know there's been a lot of people who've been very, very hard on Sony these days. But if you kind of look back at the cadence at the rate at which they've been announcing first party games, I think sometimes people kind of overlook the fact that like within 4 months they announced like 3 new first party games, like big ones from some of their biggest studios. Like that's pretty good, I would say. Digital Dude 25 with a $20 super chat. Thank you for that, Digital Dude, saying it's funny seeing all these Xbox dudes brag about how Xbox is dominating the PlayStation Store. Nobody brags about Ubisoft dominating the PlayStation Store or EA dominating the store. Anything to give Xbox a W, I guess, LOL. Yeah, I see that, and it is really cringe, man. It is. Like, I've been seeing some people kind of arguing about this and certain journalists and whatnot, like for the second month in a row. The best-selling games on the PlayStation Store, Xbox games, like, yeah, they're a third-party publisher. Like, yeah, look, where are all the headlines about, like you're saying, Ubisoft, EA, or Capcom? Where are all those headlines? You don't see them because it's a non-story. It's like the headline is, in the case of Capcom, the headline is Monster Hunter's the best-selling game of the month. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It's not like it's not trying to kind of manipulate or twist the information to make it seem like it's some like Capcom is now they're doing better than PlayStation. It's like no, they're on PlayStation with their games doing very well, like all other third party publishers that are doing well. To be fair, you bragged about Helldivers 2 being on top of the Steam store last year, and that's true. And that's, I want to make it clear, man, like to me there is a separation here. That separation comes in the form of if there are Xbox players celebrating the success of the games, like they're happy to see the games doing well. Like, man, look at how well Forza's doing on PlayStation or Oblivion, right? Like that's fine. But it's kind of like turning it around and being like, yeah, that's right. Xbox is dominating PlayStation on PlayStation. It's like I know there probably were some people who were trying to make it sound like PlayStation was dominating Steam. And it's like, no, well, I mean, come on. Like PlayStation's doing very well because they decided to release the game on Steam. And Steam is facilitating a great success, which is good. But yeah, it is weird to see that because it's like, I just think it's especially cringe when you consider the fact that some of the people online that you see saying that, surely you understand that it came at the expense of like Microsoft pretty much gave up on the console space, right? Like, is that really, if you were the type of person that was sold on the Series X and the Xbox One and the 360. I mean, is that really the type of win you were looking for? Like really, like honestly. And I think the type of people who are trying to brag about it, I think if they were being completely honest, the answer is no. What the type of win that they were hoping to get is the opposite. The type of win is Oblivion Remaster just came out and it's exclusive to Xbox, and it's like shooting up at the top of the charts on the Xbox, and it's like causing everybody to go out there and buy an Xbox, and that's what they were hoping for, and that's the literal opposite occurred. So there absolutely are people, and this goes both ways. I'm not trying to make it sound like it's just I'm not trying to like point the finger at one group of players or something. It goes both ways. It's everywhere. It's just the inconsistent hypocrisy, which comes in the form of goalpost moving, where it's like, all right, like nobody's saying you have to say it's an L, but it just looks cringe to try to twist it into some kind of big Microsoft W. Like something tells me that 10 years, not even 10 years ago, but like 5 years ago when the Series X came out, some of these people were the same people who thought that the Series X was going to dominate the PS5 because it had 12 teraflops, you know? And then it's like when that doesn't happen, it's like, well, it's because nobody cares about console anymore. Console sales don't matter anymore. It's like, okay, of course. And Digital Dude 25 with another $5 chat says PlayStation gets 30%. So is it really a bad thing? PlayStation gets free money by doing absolutely nothing. Well, that's what I've been saying. That's what I've been saying for a while, Digital Dude, is that it's a situation that if you are Sony, you're not losing in any way, shape, or form. If you're Microsoft, I don't even think Microsoft is losing. I think I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If we're looking at this through the lens of there's winners and there's losers, which is fair, because to insinuate there are no losers at all and there are no winners at all would be to insinuate that there was never any competition. And that's just false, objectively, right? There was competition. The competition ended. There was a winner. There was a loser. In this case, Microsoft, as a company that's involved in gaming, they didn't lose. They lost the console war. So in reality, it's the console warriors who were attached to that specific console. They're the ones that kind of lost in the end. Now, I don't think it's like a devastating loss where it's like, well, you can't game anymore. Guess you got to walk away from gaming because your favorite console lost the war. Like, no, it's just like, well, call it what it is. Microsoft gave up on the console. They're now giving the games that were supposed to be exclusive to the console you prefer to the competing console and emboldening that console, and strengthening that platform. It's okay to admit that, that is essentially the result of them losing the console war. It's also okay to admit that it's all going to be fine, right? It's all going to be fine. You're still going to be able to buy another Xbox if you want it, although it seems like it's going to be more PC based. You're still going to have your library of games. If you still, by the end of all this, prefer to play on Xbox, that's fine. Microsoft's not just going to completely abandon that and walk away from it. But I think it does come at the expense of understanding that if you're the person that was hoping for an Xbox Series X Elite, you're not getting that. If you were somebody that was hoping that Microsoft was going to double down and try to win more people over to sell more hardware, they're not doing that. If anything, they're selling more PS5 Pros and PS5s at this point. And it's those people. And the types I'm talking about, the types of people where that was what it was all about. That's what it was always about. Nobody's expecting them to just turn around and be like, it's all over. I can't enjoy gaming anymore. That's ridiculous. That's nonsensical. But at the same time, I think people are expecting them like, surely you're not going to try to twist this into a win, right? Because it's like, come on. It's okay. It's okay. Just take the L gracefully and everybody can be happy. It's fine. It's fine. I do. Yeah, I think Gears of War E-Day is going to be day and date on PlayStation. I really do. I would be very surprised if it wasn't, just because it's like, they're bringing Gears of War over, man. And I think it's specifically the first game. And I think there's a reason they want to do that, because they want to get people familiar with it. Devil Shooter, what's that you're linking in the chat? You think Gears E-Day is going to be trash? I like the idea that they're kind of going back to a more horror. You're making it a bit horror based, I like that. Not the biggest Gears fan, but I do like that. Yeah, we're going to talk about the state of play. We will. Oh, Mighty Keith. What is this, dude? I'll have to save this to watch at the end. Hold on. Devil Shooter's got my back. My chat is breaking currently because there we go. I have to refresh the page. Hang tight, guys. But yeah, trust me, Digital Dude. I see some of the craziest nonsense on my feeds, and I try my best to just ignore most of it because it's just people who don't know what they're talking about.
I am.
Oh, geez. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, wow. Okay. This one's going to be a fun one. It's really short. You know what? We should watch this real quick. We'll watch this, and then we'll talk about the state of play. This one is titled "Buying an Xbox in 2025." You know it's going to be a banger, bro. You know it's going to be a banger. Let me hold on. Devil Shooter's like, I'm not trying to derail you, MBG, but some breaking news here. All right, let me bring it up. Why do I have... Hold on. Okay. Well, that didn't make any sense. All right. Let's check it out.
Mighty Keith.
Hey there. Welcome to GameStop, where we buy and sell used games. How can I scam you today? Cool, I just wanted... What? I just came here to get an Xbox. Y'all got any in stock? You wanted to buy an Xbox? In this economy? Yes. Well, I love seeing black millionaires. Congratulations, brother, you made it. I don't understand. I'm not absolutely, brother. We can get you an Xbox. Hey, that'll be $5,788 billion and 428 million cents. That's not even a real number. Hey, Jerry!
What?
Boy, we got a black man in here trying to get an Xbox in 2025.
Oh, I love seeing black millionaires. Congratulations, brother.
What the hell is going on? Aren't these consoles like $400? $400? Oh, you must not have heard the news. False alarm, Jerry. This nigga broke his hell.
Ah, damn.
Son, the Xbox and all of its accessories have increased in price as of now o'clock. I'm sorry, what? Did they recently add on some additions to the hardware, make it more powerful? Nope. Are they including more accessories or like, I don't know, a year Game Pass subscription with the bundle of the console now? No, senor. So you're telling me we're getting the same exact console that released 5 years ago, but we gotta pay more money for it? That's correct, and it'll be $5,780 billion. I heard you the first time. This is insane. The console exclusives this generation have been among the weakest of any generation. And now we gotta pay more money for the same console that's been out half a decade? Well, when you put it that way, damn, bro, I'm losing my mind. This is crazy. The priority should always be to make the customer happy and provide a product that allows that to happen. Not make the customer pay more money for something that's already been out. I agree. Bro, I knew once Nintendo upped their price, the others would follow suit. It's despicable. Well, they lost me as a customer. I'm not about to pay $5,780 billion for an Xbox Series X that's been out for 5 years. Oh, you wanted the Xbox Series X? Yes. Oh, I thought you wanted the Xbox Series S. Sorry, the X will cost you $8 kajillion, 400 billion.
Boy, that's just crazy.
Oh, man. Well, you know, I mean, it was funny, but there's truth, man. There's truth to it. Oh, Mighty Keith. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've seen a Mighty Keith video. That was good, though. That was good. I honestly think my favorite part was like, welcome to GameStop. How can I scam you today? I think that was the best part. That was pretty good. All right. Let me move my camera back and start discussing this state of play. Somebody said Jeff Grubb gave more information about the state of play. I don't know if that person's still in the chat or not. Let me head back over. I guess boss is just chilling. Chris, you like the skit? All right, so we have more people in here now. Just to catch everybody up to speed, it was looking like Sony was not going to do anything event-wise. There weren't going to be any showcases, no stated plays. This was based off of numerous insiders saying they didn't say there wouldn't be one. They just said they didn't hear anything. And, it seemed like, okay, I guess you're not hearing anything because nothing's happening. But now Jeff Grubb has confirmed that they are doing something in June. He's not sure if it's a state of play or showcase. I think he's leaning towards a state of play because he's afraid that, I think Jeff Grubb doesn't want to insinuate it's a showcase if he's not 100% sure. So if it is a state of play, everybody's going to be mad at him. He's playing it safe. He's being smart. He's playing it safe. A state of play, I think, makes more sense. However, it is worth noting that it's been about 2 years since Sony held a showcase. So even though I think the expectation is a state of play, I will just put it out there that Sony's never went that long without having a showcase. So if they do decide to do a state of play, then they're breaking their own record here. Unknown, no. So I'm not trying to be like Jeff Grubb defender, but he has not missed when it comes to PlayStation shows. So, I see people like I said, people talk about the things that Jeff Grubb's gotten wrong about past stuff that's not PlayStation related, and I'm not interested in that. That's true. There is a first time for everything, and I'll tell you what, if you were to be wrong about it, I mean, then we lost a source, man. We lost a reliable insider that like one of the only people that seemingly knew what was going on with this stuff. But I believe it. Raven X0, a member for 9 months, says there's always been competition since the dawn of gaming. Shouldn't be any different now. Few rises and fall. Well, competition is not going away entirely. The competition might exist a little bit more so in the actual game space now between Sony and Microsoft, but we have to see how things play out with Nintendo. We have to see how Sony plans to roll out their next gen console and how they're going to present it and how that may or may not be impacted by where Nintendo's at that time. We still know that Microsoft is going to have a console, so there's going to be some level of competition, but it just, in my opinion, like Microsoft has gone full third party. I think the Xbox showcase that's happening in a couple weeks, that's going to be the real, like, it will solidify depending on what they show and what they announce. Like if they come out and they're like, here's a Gears of War E-Day trailer and it's dropping day one on PlayStation 5, like it's at that point, yeah, it's like nobody can hang on to anything anymore. That's fine, but their last 4 state of plays have been good first party announcements. I'm good with this. Yeah, I'm okay with a state of play. Like I've told people that, like, if Sony wants to retire the showcase and replace it with a state of play that we get every 3 to 4 months, but every state of play we get something significant first party related, I'm totally cool with that. It's going to be unfortunate if Sony does do a state of play. You're going to see people going into it being like, well, I'm expecting like 3 new first party reveals, and it's like, that's not going to happen. Unfortunately, and trust me, like I am hoping that this show that's happening in June, I want a showcase. That's what I want. I absolutely would prefer a showcase over a state of play. It's just that, I've come to accept that it's probably going to be a state of play. Jack, you're saying Jeff Grubb during Game Mess, quote, like Sony Santa Monica is the God of War team, right? Maybe what's his sci-fi game then that he's been working on since the first God of War? Maybe we get a teaser for that, end quote. Okay. It's hard. That's one of those things where it's hard to tell if he's like hinting at it or it sounds more like speculation. It seems like whoever he gets his information from is not telling him what's going to be in it. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe sometimes they do, but generally speaking, it's like they're just informing him like when it's going to happen. I actually didn't watch that yet, Perfect Image, the Metal Gear Solid dev talk. Haven't seen it yet. I saw it pop up on my feed a couple times, though. What if it's a state of play and the big reveal at the end is the Horizon multiplayer game and gummy bears? I think Sony might be smart enough, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit. I think they might be smart enough to understand that if you're going to reveal live service games, because they still have a few, like the ones you just mentioned that they have yet to reveal, you don't do it as as like the big payoff at the end of a state of play. Notice how they haven't done that, right? Like you do that in a showcase where you can also show other things that people are actually interested in or more interested in. So that way, if you see, if you see a game like Horizon multiplayer that you're not interested in at a showcase, but then Sony follows it up with a single player game, then at that point, it's like, okay, well, how mad can you really be? Corey Barlog created an account on Blue Sky today. Oh, interesting. Okay. Timing's interesting. Certainly. Yeah, that's okay. I don't want to like read too much into it, but logoism. Yeah, they're going to end it with baby steps. We can only hope. But I mean, if they were to do a state of play and it's not going to be a showcase, my assumption at that point would be it's going to be like the past 3 state of plays where we're going to get about 30 minutes of third-party games with a couple of second-party maybe thrown in there. And then it's going to end with something significant for first-party. There is a God of War side project. Apparently it's smaller. I don't think it's something big. But there is some kind of side project for Resident Evil 9. That's not first party, but people are expecting that. But there is this God of War side project. We know that Santa Monica has a new IP in development that they have yet to officially reveal. We're expecting to see SARS gameplay at some point. So I could see Sony wanting, there's also been the question of if that Venom game's real. When are we going to see Wolverine? There's quite a bit. Like, there's still a pretty good amount of stuff that, whether it's a state of play or a showcase, could show up. I'm just honestly relieved that they're doing something. I got to be honest with you guys. Like, I was feeling pretty down yesterday when it's like, okay, somehow Sony's going to skip the next 3 months, to me, I know it's a rumor, but dude, I mean, again, if Jeff Grubb was like 50-50 with this stuff, I would be telling you guys, I would be here telling you, like, take it with a big grain of salt. I trust what Jeff Grubb's saying. Not only does it just make complete sense, where I'm like, yeah, Sony's never skipped. Listen, I'm not saying everything that Sony has done in May and June has been a success. I'm just saying they've never skipped it. They've done stated plays where the big reveal was like RE4 remake or something, but they still had something. No, I've not played Oblivion remake. You have a feeling Venom was put on the shelf or canceled? I don't know. I'm not convinced that it's been canceled, mainly because there was a slide with that Insomniac hack that said Venom would be targeting 2027. So if Venom is actually targeting 2027, then it would make sense why it hasn't been revealed yet. But I don't want to take it any further than that, because there is also just as much of a chance that it could have been canceled. something they were thinking about doing, but we're like, you know what? Now, I think a PlayStation Showcase becomes much more interesting, right? The big question that people have is if Sony decides they want to do a PlayStation Showcase, that would mean they have to have a pretty good amount of stuff to show. And I mean, in my opinion, if they do a showcase, not everything they show is going to leave everybody happy. And the reason for that is because it's kind of like what we mentioned. There are multiple live service games that have yet to be fully revealed or just revealed for the first time. I'm thinking Fair Games, Horizon multiplayer, as well as um, Project Gummy Bears. So, I think it's really the other stuff that Sony could bring to the table to kind of sit alongside that. Digital Dude 25 with another $5 chat. Thank you, buddy. Saying absolutely no one was expecting to see Housemarque's next game get revealed. So I'm hoping we see Cory Barlog's game. Yeah, I would say that was a pretty big surprise. I talked somewhat frequently about Housemarque and the new IP they were working on, but I was convinced that was something that we wouldn't see till the very, very end of the generation, or maybe not even till the beginning of the PlayStation 6 gen. And yeah, they just came out of nowhere and they're like, here you go, full-blown trailer, giving you the setup of the game, and we're going to be showing gameplay later this year. That was quite surprising. So, if anything, I feel like that kind of, between that and the way Astrobot was revealed, I do feel like Sony could kind of surprise us a little bit, even with the stuff that we do know that is in development and even like paying attention to job listings, the timing of it, you never really know. This Cory Barlog sci-fi IP is going to be really interesting when that's revealed because, Santa Monica Studio is only known, they're only known for God of War, really. And this is going to be the first time they've created a new IP since God of War back in 2005. The rumor is that the God of War game will likely be the one last thing for the June State of Play. Where's that rumor coming from, Jack? Are you just assuming? I'm really curious what this side God of War project is, because the only thing apparently we do know about it is that it's going to be going back to Greece. Is it confirmed to be a state of play, not a showcase? No. Jeff Grubb is saying that he believes it's likely a state of play, but he's not sure. He did say that earlier in the year he heard that Sony was trying to decide whether or not they wanted to do a state of play or a full-blown showcase. So because of that, I mean, I think he's just trying to play it safe. Like I said, if he's really not sure if it's actually going to be a showcase, I don't think it would be wise of him to say expect a showcase. But it's like a 50-50 chance. It's a coin flip. It's either going to be a state of play or it's going to be a showcase. Detective Siege just got some info on it. Let me go see what he's saying. He's been correct about a couple things, I believe. He says PlayStation stated play targeting the week before Death Stranding 2 releases. Take the date with a grain of salt. They could push it live earlier if they want. Runtime is about 40-ish minutes. Okay. I mean, the state of plays have been 40 minutes. It's not. The timing is a little bit interesting. If they did it a week before Death Stranding 2, I mean that would be pretty late. That'd be pretty late in the month. I'm cool if they want to do it later in the month. It doesn't have to be So really quick, this is a little bit off topic, but apparently previews came out for Mind's Eye, which launches June 10th. It's got 15 hours for the story, GTA like combat, Arcadia system on PC at launch, Arcadia create encounters on the map, Red Rock City to be enriched with DLC, great cutscenes, driving feels stiff. Game is rough around the edges, and previewers think it needs to be delayed. Huh. So there's some good and some bad. Yeah, that Mind's Eye game. I'm a little mixed on it. You think it's a scam game? Nicodemus, yeah, I know we talked about that yesterday, man. That sucks. Mr. Matty Plays had some brutal opinions on it. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be one of these games where it's like, it's actually like a surprise, like, whoa, this is really good. Or it's going to be one of these games where it's like, this is pretty mediocre. Or just not good for most people. MBG in mid-June, we have a Sony business segment meeting. And like every year, we have a PlayStation event a little before or a little after. Yeah. Yeah, that's what when William was in here, he was saying that Sony announced they're doing the business segment meeting sometime in June, like mid-June. And that's why I was like, it would be really weird if they didn't do something around that time, because I mean that's the expectation. Said a lot of pop-in issues, characters not present during cutscenes, FPS issues, barely any life in the city. Ooh, yeah, that doesn't sound too good. That's concerning. Definitely a little worrisome. It is peculiar to me that they're kind of holding back gameplay. It is peculiar to me that they're holding back gameplay. They're not so it seems like Sony's business segment meeting is going to be June 11th or 12th or 13th, 11th, 12th, or 13th, around that time. Okay. Head back here. He wasn't allowed to play it, only watch the devs playing. He said the room felt awkward. That is okay. Yeah, that's really awkward. They didn't even get to play it. So they had to write previews based on what they were actually literally shown. Just like, here you go, we're going to play it for you. It had more Army of Two gunplay, not GTA. Lux is banking on this game being a scam, bro. All right, hold on. Yeah, so what's interesting, somewhat interesting, is apparently Jeff Grubb was saying that it was harder for him to get this information this time regarding this PlayStation show. He said it was harder. than before. And I wonder if this is basically why every other like insider's like, I don't know. Like they were trying to get info and it was just like particularly difficult this year. I mean, like, I'm not trying to speculate too much, but do you think this could mean, you know, maybe it does lean more in the direction of a showcase where Sony really wants to keep it under wraps? Is it possible? Maybe that's just hopium on my end. Sony cracked down on those leaks. Well, not all of them apparently. A June state of play sounds weird to me. Could be a showcase. Well, I mean, Jeff Grubb, he did speculate that maybe because it's happening a little bit later, this gives them a little bit more time to get some more stuff together. Show of play. There you go. I like that. Show of play. It's both. You think it will be a showcase? They need time to make this event. They needed time to make this event. Otherwise, the state of play would have been next week. Well, here's another interesting thing. And to me, this is important because Sony, I think, does care about these types of things. Even knowing that the Xbox show is going to have PlayStation games, Sony is going to be, they're going to be doing this show after the Xbox showcase. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like if they're going to go after and they're going to go last, right? Usually they do that when they feel, I guess, very confident. Like they want to be the one, to cap it off. Or maybe they want some time to react. I don't know. They'd be cutting it pretty close. Maybe they're ready to like change the name at any time. Maybe they have like a couple things that they'll put in the show that they don't want to if they don't have to, and they're gonna like base it on how good or not good Xbox's showcase is. So if like Xbox has like a really weak showcase and it's just like not good, they'll be like, okay, we could just make it a state of play. And then if it's like really good, they're like, okay, these like 3 or 4 things that we were gonna save, we're gonna put them in there now. I doubt it. And that's, Summer Game Fest too. I mean, I would assume Sony's not going to show up at Summer Game Fest if they're doing their own show. If they're doing, even if it is a state of play, I don't think they're going to show up at Summer Game Fest because it's in the proximity is too close. I think the Xbox showcase will be mid as always. I mean, I thought last year's was pretty good overall. The thing I like about Xbox's shows recently is they definitely try to put on a spectacle. I don't know that they always succeed, but they try to pump it up, with a lot of stuff. I'm curious to see if State of Decay shows up. Digital Dude, you're saying read your last chat. Digital Dude, for some reason, your recent chat. Do you mean are you talking about the super chat or just a regular chat? Because I'm scrolling back. I don't see any regular chats from you. I only had that last super chat you sent. Yeah, for some reason, Digital Dude, whatever you typed did not go through. The last thing I see is read my last chat. I wonder why. Microsoft and Sony are now partners. Well, the Carnage DLC, that was planned for Spider-Man 2, but it got canceled for whatever reason. Grub just low-key confirmed that Corey's game is sci-fi. I think Santa Monica's game leaked out on 4chan, dude. I think it leaked out a little while ago on 4chan. And not to like entertain this conversation too much, but I'm a little you know what I'm worried about? I'm worried that Sony will show up with a new IP from Santa Monica Studio that has the potential to be really awesome, but it's going to star a female protagonist, and everybody's going to whine about that. Everybody's going to cry about that. That's what I'm not looking forward to, because if that 4chan leak, and I know it seems like, oh, it's 4chan, who cares? But they showed concept art in the leak, so it seemed legitimate. It'd be kind of weird if it wasn't. We've been talking about the idea of Uncharted 5. Yeah, 4chan always tells the truth. Uncharted 5 possibly being the other game, and it's going to star Cassie Drake, which actually was played by Caitlin Dever. Digital Dude with his super chat says, I posted a pic on your recent X post. My brother got me something crazy yesterday. Oh, geez. I'm nervous, Digital Dude. What is it? Hold on. I'm looking for it. You see my most recent post, you're talking about the... Oh, shit. Damn. Yo, how big are those, though? It almost looks like they're life-size. They're the Blades of Chaos. Damn, dude. That looks sick. They look massive. Show us. Oh, let me see. Yeah, because I was like looking at it, I'm like looking at the background. It looks like it's a rug, like a big rug. I'm like, either this is really zoomed in, or those are like life size. Let me see if it'll let me bring the picture up. What are you gonna do with that? Digital Dude? I don't know if I trust you with those, man. Oh, of course, it's not gonna. Hold on. I wonder if it'll. There you go. It's a little cropped, but that's sick, dude. I mean, where did he get those, though? And like, not only where did he get them, but what are you going to do with them now? Those are pretty sick, man. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Bro's gonna now he's really gonna cosplay as Kratos. Shave his head. Good stuff, man. That's a great gift. An expensive display piece. That'd be sick to have those. Yeah, I'd want to display them. I mean, you could use them as a weapon too if you had to, right? If you ever had to, you're prepared. Good stuff, bro. I'm curious what people are saying. I put my post out there. See, this is what's funny to me. I will never. People are just like, listen, man. People are just garbage. So I put out a post on Twitter letting everybody know that, like, just so you know, Jeff Grubb said that there's going to be a PlayStation show in June. They're doing it in June this year. And this guy comments and he says he is right 15% of the time, every time. And that's the comment that gets the most upvotes. And it's like, dude, I'm not even I'm not Jeff Grubb. It's not my reputation. I don't care. But it's like, he's been correct every time. He has a 100% track record with PlayStation shows. What, like, I don't understand why people are like this. It's like, even if you're right, no, you're wrong. It's rough out there, man. That insider game, it's rough. But yeah, I don't know, man. People don't care. They don't care if you're right. They don't want to hear it for some reason. Actually, okay, hold on. Actually, Lux, wait, maybe I'm reading it incorrectly. Maybe I'm reading it incorrectly. He's right 15% of the time, every time. That 15% is for PlayStation. This guy's right. I was reading it wrong. I didn't quite understand. That you know what? That actually makes sense, though. Oh my God, that does make sense. That makes sense. We did it. We figured it out. What are people thinking? What are people thinking? A lot of people are mentioning Resident Evil 9. Somebody says Death Stranding Deep Dive, 43 minutes of gameplay. Oh my God. I'll be honest, man. I don't think we need to see 43 minutes of gameplay. Yeah, a lot of people thinking this is where Resident Evil... I think Resident Evil 9 is going to show up. That makes sense. That makes the most sense. Luna's in here now. Door needs WD-40? It does. I do have some WD-40. I'm just waiting for it to hit peak squeak. I'm sorry. I apologize. I need a real man to put it on. I ain't using that WD-40. Well, do we think this second Naughty Dog game could be announced? Let me ask you. I'm curious. So, let's say it's a state of play, and then at the end, Naughty Dog reveals their second game, and the second game they reveal is a new Uncharted, and it stars Cassie Drake, Nathan Drake's daughter. What are we thinking? Is there hype? Is there no hype? Are people disappointed? Are people happy? You think they'll save it for the Game Awards? Major hype? Oh, Hanzo. You could just answer my question, man. Uncharted woke, lol. What was the question? So, Sony has a state of play in June, and they end it with a new first-party reveal, and it's Naughty Dog, their second game, Uncharted 5, starring Cassie Drake, Nathan Drake's daughter. What do we think? I think people want it to be Jack and Daxter. I'm like, I don't think so, man. I don't think they're ever returning to Jack and Daxter, truthfully. Hanzo, you'd play it? Thank you. I appreciate you answering the question, Hanzo. I've seen people say that like they want Nathan Drake to be in it to an extent. And you would think he would be. They could do something crazy where it's just like, yeah, he's dead. He died off screen. He's just dead. He's been dead for like 10 years. No. They could do something like that. I think people would be upset. I hope they don't. If they are doing another Uncharted, I hope they don't go in that direction. You think they're not going to do that? Listen, man, when we said Uncharted 4 was Nathan Drake's last adventure, we were not kidding. Okay? How'd he die? Golfing accident. You know what, though? Go for it. Another female boss game. I mean, the thing that gets me is like, whoa. Boss didn't like that. Boss did not like that. What gets me is like, I feel like this actually makes the most sense though. Like it's his daughter, you know, like it feels like the most natural progression. Digital Dude, you're saying if it's Uncharted 5 with Cassie Drake, we know the outrage won't be genuine because they prepared people for it. Yeah, like that to me is what is going to be awkward if they end up doing this because like yeah, they straight up I know people were talking about like maybe like Sully and Sam or whatever, and like that'd be interesting, but yeah, it does feel like the most natural progression would be, well, you know, they showed at the end of Uncharted 4 that Nathan Drake has a daughter, and she seemed to be somewhat interested, like, oh, you know, what did you used to do, Dad? Like, what, you know, what's going on here? I forget though, how old did Nathan Drake look at the end of Uncharted 4? So Uncharted 4 basically takes place and he's in his like 40s, right? How old is Nathan Drake in the Uncharted 4 epilogue? Oh, wait, hold on. So 63. No, that's Sully. I was gonna say he was 63, bro. What? Somebody says like 50. I think it's 50s. So, okay, so yeah. So if Cassie Drake is going to be the star of the next Uncharted and she's like a, you know, full-grown adult in her 20s, Nathan Drake would be in his 60s at that point, basically. Very close to it. Maybe like 58, 59, 60. So he would, yeah, he'd basically be the Sully. That'd be cool. I would like to see that. That'd be an interesting one. If they did Nathan Drake and his daughter, like, you know, adventuring together. Yeah, I think Joel was like 62 or something in The Last of Us Part 2. He was older. Wait. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, they wouldn't do that. They're going to have you start playing as Nathan Drake's daughter, but then you're actually going to play as Nathan Drake. I don't think they do that. Play as Sully in a wheelchair. I mean, I'd take it. Let's go for it. Sully cart. William, you're saying people should have just trusted that with the business segment meeting being in June, that a June presentation was likely. Yeah, you're probably right about that, William. I mean, that always seems to be kind of the giveaway, as opposed to May, and why it's May/June. William promised us a show. Well, William, I mean, you follow Sony or PlayStation very closely with the business side. And if you pay close enough attention to the business side, there does seem to be certain hints and indicators of what you can expect. I gotta get Luna out of here. Sullied Pants Adventures. At this point, William probably has better insider info than MEG. Yeah, probably. You want PlayStation Experience to return? To the movie theaters? I forgot they used to do that. See, Sony used to be so cool like that, man. That's awesome. I couldn't even imagine them doing something like that today. We're doing a PlayStation fan event, and you can watch it in a movie theater. Imagine Uncharted 5 lets you play as 80-year-old Sully going on an adventure with Cassie. Sounds like the newest Indiana Jones movie. "80-year-old Sully, bro." Man. The theaters got a cut, and Sony didn't like that. It sounds crazy, but man, it's almost believable, though. You know? It's almost believable. Guys, I honestly found Returnal really difficult and stressful. I love the Souls games, but having to start over all the time takes so much time. You're not the only one. I had somebody in here yesterday saying that they, or was it Digital Dude? Was it you? I've encountered some people who, yeah, I think it was you, Digital Dude, where they're hopeful that SARS is a little bit less, just not overall as difficult, where it doesn't, you don't have to keep restarting every time, start from the beginning every time, start fresh. You speculate state of play in June and showcase in September, but it could be the other way around. I just know that they have a ton they're still sitting on to announce. One of the more interesting things that, I'm not necessarily convinced that they're going to do this, but I noticed that Sony seemingly hasn't really announced any second or third party exclusives, really. Maybe just a few smaller ones here and there, but not like they did 2021, 22, 23. Maybe that's because they're just kind of walking away from them now, because you're in the second half of the generation. They don't have to worry about Xbox. So that could be why. Is SARS confirmed to be a roguelike as well? The only thing I remember them confirming about SARS is that you will keep your stuff. Like whatever you find and unlock, or maybe, loot, I guess. I don't know. Like if you die when you start again, you get to keep it, which is interesting because that's very different from Returnal. I imagine there's probably gonna be other changes too. We need our timed third-party exclusives. I mean, honestly, I don't think Sony really needs to do them anymore. Digital dude, you're going to the shop. Do I want anything? Yeah, pick me up. I don't know what shop you going to. What shop? Pick me up some memberships, bro. There you go. Shop. Yeah, I agree, Robert. I don't think Sony needs them anymore. Oh, the flower shop. Okay. I think I'm good, digital dude. I see where this is going. I think I'm good. He says the flower shop. Pop-Tarts. Pop-Tarts are always good. All right, hold on. I need to get these. Okay. Neil Druckmann says the outbreak cure would have worked in The Last of Us. Is our science a little shaky that now people are questioning it? Yeah, all I can say is that our intent is that they would have made a cure. Mm. Okay. I wonder why. It's interesting to me that Neil Druckmann is willing to just give answers like this, because I feel like with I remember not that long ago he said that yes, Joel was right. Joel was right, you know. Hmm. That just popped up on my feed. Bend and Blue Point Games, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to hear from for quite some time. Zombie Joel win. Evil Joel killed millions more than. If you think about it, though, like in all seriousness, like if it's like, oh no, we would have had, like, they would have made a cure. That's kind of wild. Druckmann is a liar. It was retconned to be that way at 2. Remember how bad the hospital used to look originally, and then they changed it? You guys think he said that in order to justify Joel's death? I mean, it does bring up a more interesting philosophical question. I agree from that standpoint. No Neil Druckmann conversation. Yo, I do want to say though, real quickly, because somebody had asked me yesterday if I listened to that interview with Colin Moriarty, and I did. Bro, there was a point in that interview where I don't know if he had like an earpiece in, or like a Sony PR person was like able to tell them like when to stop talking about something or when to move on. But there was one point where he started to kind of talk about like the way the actors look and people taking screenshots. And at one point he was like, they're just grifters, you know? They're grifters, man. And like, it was interesting because it seemed like he wanted to keep going on. Like, every time I hear, like, Neil Druckmann definitely wants to say stuff, but he can't. And it would just be so interesting to hear what he has to say, because like he keeps kind of like veering so close to acknowledging so much of the crap, but I'm pretty sure it's like Sony PR that like no, like nope, we're not letting you. But it was just interesting to hear that part of the conversation, because it's clear he sees what people are saying and like what they're posting and stuff. So no, I'm not talking about The Last of Us again. I just remembered yesterday somebody had asked me if there was anything interesting from that interview. My biceps look swole. Shoulders may need more attention. My shoulders are always a weak point for me, man. Yeah, like they're always a weak point. My chest takes most of the. My chest wants to take most of the workload. I saw there was some more Stellar Blade DLC. Yeah. Oh yeah, he name dropped Pedro Pascal. He was like, I rejected Pedro Pascal's call. Think Resident Evil 9 and Wolverine show up? Breaking MBG out of the Last of Us streak is like breaking the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania. It'll happen one day. Actually, he did say one interesting thing about Intergalactic, and talking about gameplay. He really this is why I'm interested in Intergalactic, because once again, Neil Druckmann, he said that he is very excited to like show the game because he says this is the deepest gameplay and like the best gameplay that they've ever created. And that really interests me. Like it does, I mean, I can't deny that I love the gameplay of the Last of Us games. I think there was a fair amount of depth, certainly, but it was intense. And so, if he's saying that the gameplay they came up with for this game is like by far the best they've ever done, I'm like, oh, okay, you definitely have my attention. I'm interested to see it. Certainly. You think it's going to be melee focused? That Bloodborne inspired vision they originally had for The Last of Us. That's what I'm thinking too. And that's so interesting to me. It's so interesting that there's such heavy inspiration from like Bloodborne. Yeah, because with The Last of Us Part 2, they originally wanted to be melee only. And it just wasn't, excuse me, I don't know why I'm getting hiccups, wasn't working out. So maybe this is their opportunity to do that. Did they are you sure they confirmed that, Chris? That it's already, they already confirmed it's melee focused? Maybe they did. Yeah. I mean, it would make sense. I don't recall them explicitly confirming it though. Or the side pistol. She had a firearm on her thigh. Yeah, maybe that's like the only, maybe that's the only firearm she'll have. And actually that would kind of explain the whole Bloodborne inspiration, because in Bloodborne, yeah, you can have a firearm to open up like a parry window. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's straight up what they're doing. They're going with the Bloodborne formula. That would actually be pretty sick. Neil's intention always was, would you sacrifice the whole of humanity in order to save one person you love? Yeah, true. I mean, it's an interesting philosophical question. Certainly. In Jedi Survivor, you have a lightsaber and a side pistol. I think it'll be like that. Bloodborne meets DMC. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out, because I mean, when I think of the melee in The Last of Us, it feels pretty good. It feels really good. It feels intense. But I don't, if they're going to be like do a really heavy melee focus, they're going to have to make it feel really good. Did you know they call cats the chicken of the railroad? No, I didn't, Digital Dude. Thank you for informing me. If it's more FromSoft, you're going to be pissed. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if it's going to feel more like From Software combat or like DMC combat, or a combination of the two, or yeah, more like Jedi Survivor. I'm not sure. Bloodborne meets Horizon with dismemberment. Horizon's melee is pretty bad. That's actually one of the biggest criticisms I've had for Horizon, and it's always frustrated me because I feel like Horizon's combat system is pretty unique, pretty different. The weaponry is unique, certainly, but I always felt like the melee just like, yeah, you just like keep tapping square or whatever, or L1. I forget which button it was, but you just keep pressing it, and it's just like this really basic combo that doesn't really do much. Like, it's effective and does what it needs to do, but I always like kind of wish, and I hope with like Horizon 3, like one of the things I would love to see expanded upon is the melee combat. Like, it would be cool if Horizon 3 essentially offers like there's an arsenal of melee weapons that all function differently, and you can approach, because if you think about it, if they're going to do like a Horizon multiplayer that is inspired by um Monster Hunter, then they would have to implement a lot of melee. You thought the Forbidden West melee was a big step up. It definitely felt better. I just feel like there's so much more they could probably do, though. Unless I'm misremembering, you're saying the melee was very deep. Am I misremembering something? Am I getting confused because I tried playing the remaster and I thought in Forbidden West the melee combat was just you just had the spear, right? Oh wait, yeah, there was that section. I remember getting a little bit hung up on it, where there were like more combos you could do. Yeah, I don't remember it being very deep. It was better. It was improved upon, but I don't remember it being very deep. That's, I think, something that they could really do for Horizon 3. It'd be pretty meaningful. Add like a whole arsenal of different melee weapons. I mean, honestly, make it more like Monster Hunter, dude. I think that's what they should do. I think they should take some inspiration from Monster Hunter and add like a bunch of melee weapons and make it a real viable option where it's like, you can just take on all the machines with melee if you want. That'd be very sick. I would like that. Killzone remastered. You doubt they'll get to DMC Pinnacle, but maybe a light Stellar Blade. Yeah, I'm shifting back to Intergalactic. I mean, if they're really bragging about how deep their gameplay is and how good it feels and it's melee based, it's going to be different for Naughty Dog. And Naughty Dog, they're very good at what they do. So it'll be interesting, certainly, to see if they can. Like, I wonder how it's going to stack up, against these other games that are known for being really, really, really good feeling melee based, combat games. If you look at the leaked concept art of Horizon Online, you see so many different melee weapons. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, maybe they've already been working on that, dude. Because that's the thing. If you're gonna do that multiplayer Horizon, you gotta have, your competition at that point is a game like Monster Hunter. You gotta have more melee options. Okay. Do I think we'll see more information on Tides of Annihilation? Um, yeah. I mean, that was a game that was shown off at the last State of Play, and it had a lot of viewership. A lot of people really like that. I could see us getting some more gameplay or just more info. What if you're able to use the environment around you during combat, like at the end of the trailer when Jordan leaps off the rock to dodge the attack and follow up? Like, you can use anything. Oh, that's it. Now that's interesting. That would be different. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Because that was, you would imagine that was very intentional to show off, you know? She did jump off that rock and get a boost. That would be cool. Trying to think if there's like any other game that does that. If they do something like that, though, in my opinion, it has to be optional. Like it would be really weird and honestly kind of disappointing if it's like that enemy they showed in the trailer, like you have to do that specific attack or else you can't damage it or something like that. Like you have to bounce off or like jump off of one of these rocks or something that's going to be placed in the environment. And if you don't do that jumping attack, that specific one, you won't damage it. I hope it's not like that. That would be annoying. But if they made it to where it's like you could be way more effective. It's like completely free to use anything. Yeah, like if you're able, like you can leverage the environment and be much more efficient and effective and do crazier combos. But if you just want to like hack and slash, just stand there, and kind of tank it or whatever, or parry or dodge, you could do that too. I hope it has that level of depth. I mean, like them giving you as many options as possible to approach enemies and encounters would be great. Yeah, that's interesting. I never really thought of that when you watch that little gameplay teaser at the end. She does jump off that rock. We need to link this to Neil. If you haven't done this already, do it. Garrett, what are you saying? Neither one was canceled. What are we talking about here? Battlefield 6 is being revealed during a state of play. What makes you think that? Oh, the Horizon multiplayer was not canceled. They're sticking with that. What's interesting about the Horizon multiplayer is that's been in development since 2018, man. And I'll be honest with you, my biggest concern with the Horizon multiplayer is the art style. And I know that sounds a little shallow, but I have a bad feeling, man. If they come out and they're like, check out Horizon multiplayer, and it looks like Genshin Impact or Fortnite, I think people are gonna just be like, they're gonna fixate on that, and yeah, it's gonna be because it's like, bro, we've. My whole thing is that, I know, Broccoli Rob. God, what is itching my nose, man? Something keeps itching my nose. The Horizon game. Yeah, so there was some misreporting. We thought that the Horizon MMO mobile game or whatever, we thought that got canceled, but it didn't. Yeah. There was a little bit of confusion with that. Why do I care what people think? Well, it's not that I care what people think, it's that like I think our Horizon multiplayer game actually has a decent chance at success. I think if they decide they want to make cartoon-esque, yeah, we watched that yesterday, Tarnished. Scary stuff. I feel like Horizon's graphical fidelity and art style is one of its strongest points. And it looks fantastic. If they trade that in for something that we already, because you don't really see many games that look like Horizon, in my opinion. If they change the art style to something like Fortnite or Genshin Impact, it's just like now you just look like every other game. It's, you get what I'm saying? Where it just feels like, yeah, massive downgrade and unoriginal and like cringe. Like they should just commit to like, let's make a multiplayer Horizon game that has the same graphical style as the base games. That's just my opinion on that. We have Perfect Image with a $2 chat. He says, this is why Sony marketing team or strategy got them a B in my book and starting to lose, I think he meant to say mind share. I could be wrong. Love to hear your thoughts overall. Well, Perfect Image, are you referring to... I read this when I was talking about the art style. Is that what you're talking about? You're saying this is what's causing you to kind of think they're gonna lose mind share? overall. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough thing. I kind of get where you're coming from, Perfect Image. It's a tough thing because, like, on one hand, it does definitely feel like Sony approaches their marketing and their communication very differently than they did previously. Even at the beginning of this generation, they do it differently. Um, and it does feel like if you're paying attention, which a lot of people aren't, you don't have to, but if you are paying attention to like the conversations, it does seem like some people are. It seems like there's more people being a bit negative or down, even for smaller things or unnecessary things. And Sony doesn't seem to care to do anything about that. And it seemed like before they did care about controlling the message much more. Um, what makes it tough is like when you look at the results, if you follow Sony's earnings and you see how well PlayStation is doing, you kind of just realize that, from their perspective, it's like, who cares about people crying on the internet? It's really interesting. I don't want to bring it back to this, but just to kind of highlight the point I'm trying to make, the situation we see with Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann specifically, I think is interesting because I think Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog right now represent. They give us an idea of how PlayStation, from a marketing and PR standpoint, how they want to run things, where we don't care, cry, complain, hate, make memes, make screenshots, whatever. We don't care. We're going to keep doing what we want to do. And if you got a problem with it, that's not our problem. And you could argue that that's like arrogant or just rude or anti-fan or whatever, but it's like when I was listening to that Neil Druckmann interview, it's like he said that the only thing that really mattered to them when they launched The Last of Us HBO was it going to do well? Was it going to get enough viewership to get us a season 2 and a season 3 so we can finish season, so we can finish The Last of Us Part 2 in the HBO format. And he said it was a resounding success. It was incredibly successful, and that the new one's successful too. And now they're going to be able to do a season 3. And I thought that was important to actually pay attention to, because this is, to me, that's why. Like, this is why. It's why, like, when you look at Horizon, so many people cry and complain about Horizon. And I'm not saying you're wrong for doing that if you really don't like it or you're tired of it. But from Sony and I almost said Horizon, from Sony and Guerrilla's perspective, they're like, the first game was a colossal success. The second game was a massive success. Why, like, if we want to continue to do this, why would we do that? It's like, well, don't you see the people over there complaining? It's like, yeah, but look at our success. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it creates an interesting dichotomy where there are obviously groups of people that consider themselves PlayStation fans, or they care enough about PlayStation and PlayStation Studios and their products that, like, they want them to do something different. They want them to change how they do things. They want them to go back to this or go back to that or do this instead. And Sony's just not. A lot of their studios are just not. And, it's like I say, man, like, I just try to point out to people that no matter how upset we want to be about certain things, like, we have to, this is why I'm always fixated. Not always, but a lot of times I'm fixated on paying attention to, what are the numbers telling us? What are the numbers telling Sony? Because believe me when I tell you, no matter how much hate something like The Last of Us Part 2 gets, if it sells really well and it wins all the awards, in Sony's eyes, it's going to be a win, a big win. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what story choices were made. Doesn't matter what Neil Druckmann, what his politics are. None of that's going to matter. And that's the result. So it's like, if you wonder why people root for certain products, certain studios, certain games, certain individuals, even, if you wonder why they're rooting for it to fail, it's because they have an inherent understanding that that's the only way something can change. Like for example, this is why I think Neil Druckmann is the best example to use, is like, people who don't like Neil Druckmann, they want him to fail, and they want Naughty Dog to put out a game that fails miserably, because they understand that that's the only thing that's going to get rid of Neil Druckmann. But as long as Neil Druckmann and his teams that he's working with, if they keep putting out games that sell really well and get good reviews, that's just not going to happen. As long as Neil Druckmann and company can keep Sony happy, then the naysayers won't matter to neither Naughty Dog nor Sony. And the reason for that is simple. It's because there's a whole market that is supporting the thing that that one individual or that group of individuals thinks is so bad and needs to change. There's a even larger group of individuals that actually like it. Hence why, look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie. So, it's an interesting conversation. It always is, in my opinion, because it's like the state of plays, like we were talking about, and that's the thing. It's not to say that what's popular is always the best thing. Sometimes, like, are the masses always right? I mean, I would say no. There are quite a few things out there that were considered the most popular that I'm like, I don't think so. But from a business oriented perspective, you could see why that's all that's going to matter. You're saying Neil's the GOAT, y'all are just haters. I mean, I don't think it matters. I think, Neil Druckmann achieved what many others will never. And I say that as somebody I'm not even like the biggest fan. It's just like, no matter how much you hate Neil Druckmann, like, he achieved something that 99% of people won't, whether that means something to you or not, that's up to you. It is what it is. People know his name, people know who he is, and people talk about him. We're talking about him. People bring him up. So I'm not saying that's necessarily always in a good way. But yeah, that's why I'm so interested in Intergalactic. That's why I'm so interested to see, like, Horizon 3. Horizon 3 is going to come, and I'm like really interested. Like, I think another great example of this is Ghost of Yote. Like, I actually started to think when Ghost of Yote was revealed, I'm like, oh my God, like, Sony, dude, I think you might be in trouble. Like, I started to feel concerned for, like, Sucker Punch and their decision. I'm like, dude, from what I can see, it looks like a lot of people are very upset about this. And then, a little bit of time went by, and, the dust settled, and they started showing off more of the game. They showed another trailer. They gave us a release date. And now all I see is excitement. Maybe worry is a little worried. Saying I was worried is a bit much, but it's just maybe just a little bit concerned for the fact that, like, I don't know if this is going to play out so smooth, which sucks because it feels like it was just such an easy slam dunk, right? I know, Titus. That's why I shifted to talking about Ghost of Yote. No, I agree with you, Dan, saying Jin's story was done. I agree. I was just saying, like, there was some trepidation in, like, well, are people going to, like, is this game going to do as well? Is this game going to have as much excitement behind it as there was for Ghost of Tsushima? And, like I said, the dust has settled, the noise, the extra noise. Oh, it's all right, Dan. It's all good. The extra noise that I was hearing I'm glad that that's basically what it was. It was just extra noise that is not going to have any meaningful impact, seemingly. I don't want to call it too early, but seemingly not any meaningful impact, because it's just like the game's going to speak for itself, where they're going to show more of it. You know, we're going to, it's going to come out, and yeah, man, I just, it's like, I think people are kind of realizing, anybody who maybe was against the game, they realize that regardless of your thoughts on the new protagonist or even the actress who's playing the new protagonist, it seems like what Sucker Punch is showing you is it looks like a very competent, well-made product, you know? MBG, you can discern the now Sony versus the old Sony with the PS4 gen. There's a consistent pattern of dissatisfaction with the PS5 gen, and it's getting more noticeable each time Sony does something. Yeah, but their numbers have yet to reflect that, which is interesting. You know? Like that to me, because I absolutely see what you're saying. Trust me, I follow, like, my job here is to literally cover PlayStation. I know exactly what you're talking about. But that's what's interesting, is it's just like, all right, well, if this is, if a lot of what people are saying is true, then we should see it reflected in the data. And then it's just not, you know? It's just not. It's like, oh, well, what does that mean? If I had to guess, it just means that I think a lot of people like to talk. You know, I'm not saying there isn't truth to what they're saying. It's just I don't think there's commitment to what they're saying. I think there's a difference. Like, I think somebody, like, here's what I'll say. Like, I think somebody could say, I can't stand. I'm really upset about them being done with Jin Sakai, and then just going 300 years in the future, getting this new female protagonist. I don't like the direction they're going in, and I'm not a fan of it, and I'm upset, and this isn't what I wanted. I think somebody can say that, and it can be true, and then they still buy and play the game. And I think there's a lot of that going on. I think there's a lot of people who say things like they don't like the direction that Sony's going in. They don't like what PlayStation's doing, and then they still engage and interact with PlayStation on a monetary level that essentially ends up sending Sony a different message. Not every time. Like, I don't think there's that many people saying, I hate this game, this looks like garbage, and then they're all going out and buying it. No. But I think that there's enough people just kind of jumping on certain bandwagons. And then when the dust settles and the time rolls around where the game comes out, they're like, okay, well, I'm going to go, I'm going to go play the game now. And all the talk for years on the channel about a Ghost of Tsushima sequel replacing Jin wasn't really ever brought up as an idea. It was always about a direct sequel. Yeah. That's honestly what I expected. Yes. I can say that. I thought Ghost of Tsushima 2 was going to be a follow-up because I was under the impression that Jin Sakai was going to be like another Aloy character. Like, oh yeah, it's Jin, But I'll be honest, like the explanation that Sucker Punch gave actually made a lot of sense to me. Like, I actually am like, yeah, that actually, I get it. Where they basically were saying, like, we're just afraid of making the same game. Like, literally. Like, we'll continue with Jin, and it's still gonna be set in Tsushima essentially, or in close proximity, and we're gonna have some of the same characters. And I kind of, this is where I feel like, if anything, what Sucker Punch chose to do with Ghost of Yote is actually, I think, better ultimately, because what I would have expected from Ghost of Tsushima 2 would have followed in the same footsteps as what we got with Spider-Man 2 and God of War Ragnarok and Horizon 2, which is, I enjoyed all of these games very much. But it's like a breath of fresh air in a sense of, like, even in God of War Ragnarok, like, some of the areas we're playing in are the same areas of the first game. We're dealing with a lot of the same characters. You know, like it's definitely like a direct sequel. Same thing with Spider-Man 2 and Horizon Forbidden West. It was a whole new area, but still very similar situation. And so I do feel like if Sucker Punch, you know, their whole idea was we wanted to try to do something as different as we possibly could without going out of the bounds of like what would maintain a Ghost game. What's the core essence that we have to stick to keep it a Ghost game? But we want to make it as different as possible. I actually like that. I do. I'm like, maybe, you know, who knows? When I play it, maybe I'll be disappointed by it and be like, that wasn't as good as I thought. Maybe by the time I finish Ghost of Yote, I'd be like, I wish they would have just done a sequel with Jin. Certainly possible. But everything I'm seeing so far, I'm like, I actually like this direction they went in. I like it. And it's also kind of why I'm like really interested in Saros too, because Saros, you could tell it's like, yeah, it's not a sequel to Returnal, but it kind of is. It's like in this in-between place where it's not a direct sequel, but it's certainly some kind of follow-up where it's going to be very similar to it. And a lot of what you liked about Returnal will exist in this game. So it's cool. It's cool to kind of see that mixed up a little bit. But yeah, this is why, like, when I speculate about an Uncharted 5 game, I am like wondering, like, okay, well, what will, other than like the fact you're not playing as Nathan Drake, what will be different? And that to me is what intrigues me the most about an Uncharted 5 game. Because I feel like you can't just do it again, right? I mean, I guess you could. You could. It's been a long enough break, I guess, since like 2016, but I feel like there's got to be a little something extra. You know, like something, like a little bit of a twist, if you will, that would justify like bringing back Uncharted, other than just for the sake of bringing it back. Yeah, I have the platinum for Returnal. It's a great game. I loved it. So, Perfect Image, I mean, I appreciate your donation, man. It brings up an interesting conversation that we continue to have about PlayStation. Haven't played Kazan yet, no. Well, trust me, pushing polygons, I definitely stressed out about it. It wasn't the easiest one. But yeah, I do feel like I feel like ultimately PlayStation is in a, generally speaking, good spot. I'm not, I don't want to constantly go on the defense, because there are things that Sony still does that, like yesterday with the whole PlayStation Stars thing, there are things that I do feel like, you know, PlayStation is not perfect, man. Like there are things that they do that do seem a bit out of touch at times, where I'm like, you serious? Like, what are you doing here? And, you know, there are people that have a different perspective, and they're like, oh, you're overreacting or this and that. It's like, well, you know, in my opinion, my job here is to be honest. You know, if anything, it's just to be honest. But part of that is also that, yeah, there are times where it's like, I'm telling you, man, like the last two stated plays that Sony did, I felt annoyed. Not at Sony. I felt annoyed that people were crying so hard. Like, I don't mind a couple tears here and there. Like, it wasn't as good as you thought it would be. You're not excited about the last, you know, here's one more thing we have to show you. I get that. But to see so many people, it's like an attempt to dogpile. Like, no. We need to convey the message that this was trash and bad. And it's like, what are you talking about? If you thought the last state of play was garbage or trash, you don't play video games. Straight up. You just don't play video games. I don't see how you could be a player of video games and walk away from a 40-minute show with that many different games being shown and be like, that's all garbage. Now, if somebody says, I wished it was a showcase and we got like 4 or 5 first party things. That's different. Okay. I can meet somebody there. It's like, yeah, let's talk about that. Why wasn't it a showcase? Why was there only one major first party thing? Rather than there being multiple. And that's, I think, that's to me where the conversation gets interesting. Because then it turns into, well, they probably didn't do a showcase because they don't have enough to show. Why wouldn't they have enough to show? Well, let's analyze their studios. What is each studio working on? What projects got canceled? Which ones have they yet to reveal? That's where things start to get interesting, in my opinion. If we're going to have those conversations. What's not interesting is seeing people be like, oh, that show was garbage. Sony sucks now. It's like, okay. And it goes both ways too. It's like, the Xbox showcase, like, to me, it's not interesting if the only takeaway is, yeah, that sucked. It was a horrible show. I mean, it's probably going to be like 2 hours. Like, there's nothing worth talking about. Yeah, like last year's show, I definitely saw some people are like, that was trash and the worst show ever. And I'm like, well, I don't know, man. It was a pretty good show. Like, I wasn't interested in everything they showed off, but it had oomph to it, and there were a couple of things that did look pretty decent, pretty good. It's stuff like that where it's like, I'm tired of feeling like the only options these days are, like, the only option is extreme reactions to everything. It's just a constant love or hate. Either love it, you hate it, and then you run in that direction. To me, that just makes things so boring and uninteresting where it's like, dude, it's shallow. It's shallow, and don't get me wrong, there are times where there are shows, like I've tried, I'm sure you guys noticed the past like 6 or 8 months or so, I've been trying to tune into these smaller shows where it's a lot of PC-oriented games, a lot of indie games, and I won't lie, like, I walk away from that, like, I did not like that show. I will refrain from, like, being volatile towards it, where it's like, I'm not going to say it was garbage or trash. It's just, whatever this presentation is for an hour long of mostly PC or mostly indie games is not meant for me. And I don't want to make it seem like there's nothing there that's worthwhile, because there's absolutely people tuning into it that do like what they see. But I just will have to be honest with myself and saying, like, this show to me is very boring and uninteresting. There's something for everyone in those state of plays. People have unrealistic expectations for a level of reveals, but there are quality games being shown. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like that's an honest assessment. Like, I can genuinely understand why, if somebody didn't like Returnal, they were not left feeling excited about the last state of play, because it's like, oh, that studio again, and it looks like it's gonna be a similar game. I get it. It's disappointing because it's like, that's all you got from Sony. But it's just, it's a pattern. It's a pattern where it's like, okay, it's like that for the February state of play with SARS. Then it's like that with the September state of play for Ghost of Yote. Then it's also like that for the May state of play with Astrobot. And it's like, come on, guys. Like, not you guys, but you know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, why? What's going on? No, the Oblivion remaster, not my type, not my cup of tea, bro. I think there's a lot of negativity in the gaming masses nowadays, and YouTubers are feeding on that negativity to the nth degree. Everything is bad. Apparently, even GTA 6 is worrying and bad now. I know, dude. I know. It's getting tough out here. I got to be honest with you guys. It's getting real tough. Like, I don't know how recognizable it is for onlookers or for viewers, but loving the hate stuff, there you go. It's a good, yeah, there you go, pushing polygons. It's getting really tough out here because everybody's angry about something. There's just so much volatility to everything. And I think that anger and that volatility, it creates a certain level of engagement, spectacle sometimes, but that leads to engagement. Perfect Image with another direct donation says, thanks for your thoughts. I get that their focus is MAUs, but they also need to get a better marketing team or overhaul the team. This is a business. Well, you know what's interesting about this June show that Sony's going to be putting on is this is going to be the first time. Yes, hostility is another word. Yeah, there you go. Even better, hostility. More appropriate word. The interesting thing about what you're saying, Perfect Image, is this upcoming PlayStation show in June is going to be the first show we get with the new leadership. So, every time new leadership comes in, they have, like Hideaki Nishino. How does Hideaki Nishino want to run the marketing team at PlayStation? Because he has full control over that now. Previously, it was Jim Ryan. Could be better, could be worse. But it'll be interesting to tune into this next show because it should give us some level of insight into like, okay, this is the first public-facing forward presentation with the new leadership. Let's see how it goes. Maybe it'll be exactly the same. Maybe it'll be worse. Maybe it'll be better. But I have no doubt that now that there is new established leadership, they probably are changing some things up marketing-wise. That's usually how it goes. But yeah, man, it's Nishino's just a Totoki puppet. Jesus. I mean, technically true, I guess. It goes back to Sweeney talking about how gaming has forgotten that this hobby is supposed to be about fun. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more complex for me personally because I'm trying to make a living off of talking about games. So the truth is, for me, it can't always just be about fun, as much as I would like it to be. And I understand that. I accept that. That's part of it. That's part of what keeps me interested on a deeper level. That's why I want to have these conversations. But man, the well has been poisoned. It really, really has been. And it's worse than I've ever seen it. And I don't know if it's going to get better. I'm not trying to make it seem so I'm not trying to exaggerate, but it's just that from what I can tell, you need to either be everything has to be exaggerated to work today, seemingly, in this space specifically. I'm not saying it's this way across all of social media. Maybe it is. I don't pay attention to enough things out there to know. But in terms of gaming, in terms of, following upcoming games and talking about them and shows and, the business side and all that, it seems like the only way you can thrive in this environment anymore is everything has to be over the top and exaggerated. Whether that be negative, whether that be positive, it doesn't matter. It has to be over the top. And it gets very annoying because it's like we have to whine and complain about something. I have to fight with somebody now. How dare you say that? Now you've triggered me and you're probably just trolling me, but now I have to whine and cry about it for the next 30 minutes. And I fall victim to it at times. I'm not going to pretend I don't. But it's just like at some point you recognize it and it's like, okay, this has to stop. But it's the other way too, where it's like, oh, this thing that I like is the greatest thing ever and literally the best thing since sliced bread. And let me tell you how it's going to revolutionize your life just like it revolutionized mine. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? Or it's got to be, hey, you see this thing over here? You see what this person said? Look at this nobody. This is a nobody right here. This is a person that's obscure, irrelevant, and hardly anybody follows this person. But I'm gonna shine a big bright light on them to make an example of them. But in doing so, I'm giving them the biggest platform possible. I'm the good guy. Okay. It's always been this way across different mediums. It's just, I don't know. I've seen it reach a new height in the gaming space, in the gaming discussions space, and it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate because, yeah, I mean, we live in a day and age where people they pay attention to likes, they pay attention to how many hearts something gets, and it's like I said, it's all about the data. It's all about the numbers. That's the weird thing about all this, is like, it's all, if you look at the behavior, it's all driven by numbers. People are driven by numbers. When you see somebody making a certain piece of content, and maybe you look at it and you're like, well, this is kind of weird, or this seems a bit much, chances are the person making that content is very much aware of it, but that awareness doesn't mean anything, because the content is being driven by, look at how many likes it got, look at how many views it got, look at how much revenue it made, look at how well it's doing. And things start to just all kind of bunch together and push in one direction, because somebody else recognizes that and they're like, well, I got to do that too. And then the other guy recognizes it, and then they're like, well, I got to do that too. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's these things just kind of take on a life of their own in a way. They take on a life of their own, and they're molded and manipulated by many different factors. Yeah, Aaron, we've been talking about that. Hold on, there's another one here. PlayStation event in June. Jeff Grubb took to Twitter and he said PlayStation event in June. That's the entirety of what I can confirm. No specific dates. Not sure if it's the state of play or a big boy showcase. But I lean towards the state of play. That's it. Anything else that people add is their own speculation. There you go. Yeah, I mean, what he just said there is exactly how I took it. He's saying that there's a show in June. Don't know if it's a SOP. Don't know if it's a showcase, but it's coming. So, a showcase would be phenomenal. I got to be honest. A showcase would be amazing. Hold on, we got another rumor here about Resident Evil 9. Dusk Golem. So originally, Resident Evil 9 originally started development. Wait, I said originally twice. Resident Evil 9 originally started development in 2017. But it was in early 2017 after Resident Evil 7 underperformed at launch compared to Capcom's expectations. Resident Evil 7 went on to have a huge tail in sales, but this was a bit reactionary. The original version of Resident Evil 9 was trying to be the opposite of RE7, i.e. big open world multiplayer game. Multiplayer? Resident Evil 9 originally starred Leon and Jill in a fictional island based off Singapore. However, again, this is the old Resident Evil 9. The project got a pretty heavy reboot in 2021, around the time Village came out, though a few things stayed the same, like Leon's still the main character. Well, goddamn, what changed? Because, I mean, I guess the idea was like they wanted to make the opposite of RE7. But then RE7 actually did pretty well, and then RE8 came out. I don't know. I want to be excited for RE9. Dusk Golem's latest thread about RE 1.5 and RE2 reimagining is quoting on me. I've not played Armored Core 6. No. Well, guys, I think this is where I'm going to wrap up today's stream. I only had like basically one topic of discussion, and I don't want to stretch it out for too long. And I'm feeling unusually tired today. No reps today, unfortunately. But guys, before I head out, I want to thank you for showing up and hanging out with me today, Shout out to anybody who hung out with me during the stream. I guess that was one topic, Gaming Survivor. Shout out to anybody who's going to watch the stream. I want to give a big thank you to anybody who dropped any direct support today. I can only do this because you guys make it possible. So thank you so much for that. Also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter for doing the timestamps. He's been doing timestamps for the streams. If you guys see him in the comments, give him some thanks, show him some love, and that does it. So guys, please enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm not sure if we'll be back here tomorrow or not. Just, make sure you hit the bell notification so you'll get notified anytime I upload or stream. I did put a video out there earlier, although it's pretty much irrelevant now because that video was not covering what Jeff Grubb had to say. So probably have to do an update video tomorrow on that. But all right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you in the next one. Till then, take care.